I told him the other night when I was with him at the Gospel Singing Jubilee that all those years of enjoying their music and seeing them, you might say, from the side, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to introduce them and know them as the personal friends that they become, and especially America's greatest bass singer, J.D. Sumner. J.D., it's an honor to have you at the station.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Wayne. You do a lot of good gospel music in Alabama.
We've been here several days. We sure have.
Well, we appreciate it very much. We just dropped down to spend a little while with you. I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning. We just got through with about a 20-day tour, and I leave Saturday on a 36-day tour. And
still live in Nashville?
Yeah, my wife does. I go through occasions, get some clean socks.
Yeah.
But we working too much, but we enjoying it. So
that's what you get for being in demand.
Well, it isn't being in demand as much as just making yourself in demand. Now, we do a West Coast tour every year, and it's just hard to get out there and back in less than a month. You know?
Yeah.
So we'll be gone 36 days.
Well, J.D., how did it all get started? You remember the first time you sang in church?
Well, I was raised in the Church of God, a Pentecostal church, and they let the kids go. Anybody wanted to sing in the choir, well, you could sing. Yeah. And I think that's a shame that that's been stopped. I mean, now we got to have robes, and even in that church too. Yeah. I mean, they just got certain people that let sing. But back in those days, if you wanted to sing, just get up there and let her fly. And that's where I learned to sing, was in church. Then they noticed me and invited me to go to a singing convention. And at the singing convention, I was noticed more. And thank God somebody heard me, and I joined the Sunny South Quartet. Yeah. And been singing ever since.
Do you ever go back to that church?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my home church. My mother is 89 years old. She's a charter member of that church, and every time I go home, I always go back to the Church of God on Lake Wire there.
Where is that, J.D.?
In Lakeland, Florida.
Really?
My mother's 89, be 90 in September, and she's having a birthday party, and she told everybody she wanted to bring cash, not to bring anything but cash, so she wouldn't have time to spend anything but cash.
Wonderful sense of humor. Tell you what, J.D., we're going to have some time tonight to talk about. We've got a big event coming up, among other things that we're going to talk about. So what we want to do right now is we want to play one of those special songs from the Stamps Quartet from just a little bit ago, and then we'll be right back, okay?
Right.
WD Stamps Quartet. J.D., tell us a little bit about that song.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at the cover, and I want to cry, as young as I looked in that picture. That was Donnie Sumner, my nephew, singing the lead, and I'm looking on this album cover here, and Marlon Lefebvre was singing in the quartet, and Marlon is now got his own group, what they call themselves, Broken Heart, something like that. He's singing contemporary. And then Tony Brown, we call him Tarzan. Tony Brown is producer at MCA, making $150,000 a year. And
reckon he's getting by, J.D.?
I think he's getting by. He passed me the other day in his Rolls Royce. Waved at me. No, Tony's done good. I'm proud of all them boys, and I'm proud of Donnie there singing that Ship Ahoy. And that was Doyot playing the accordion on that. Doyot is now in I don't know what, the nursing home. He's had a major stroke, and that brings back some good memories, bad memories of his health today, but brings back a lot of memories.
It sure does. I was just telling J.D. While we were listening to it that since 1968, since the beginning of WDJC, we've used that album a lot of times, and it's still in good shape, too.
It's a good album.
Yeah.
You mentioned the big sing a minute ago on June the 7th. There's one man in our business that's never been honored, that's never been given credit for things that he's done. That's Jake Hess. And finally, he's an Alabama boy, North Alabama fact, he still got some of that red clay in his shoes. And we're having a Jake Hess sing, sundown and sunup sing, up in Hartselle, Alabama, on June the 7th. And the Masters 5 is going to be there. Of course, old Jake is the Masters 5, and then the Inspirations and the Florida Boys. And there'll probably be other groups added to it, the King James Version, the Singing Ambassadors, and also Delegation. But there'll be some more groups added to it. But the main thing is finally Jake Hess is going to get a little bit of credit for the many things he's done in gospel music on June the 7th.
He is some gentleman, I tell you. He's always, speaking of 68, I remember at that particular time he had retired from the Statesman.
He had the Imperials.
Yeah, yeah. And but he's always been involved some way or another.
Yeah, Jake, see, I left the Blackwood in 65 and took over the Stamps. Jake left the Statesman in 63 and organized the Imperials. And then Jake and I, during these years, worked as a team, right. The Imperials. We called them the Imps and the Amps, I believe, is what we call ourselves. Still a little younger than we are today, but those were good days.
J.D., let me ask you, your history and also you're the present. Masters 5 are just as popular today as, of course, not to take anything away from them, but they're just as popular today as the Statesman and the Blackwood Brothers were years ago. What do you think about, is it better today? Is it easier traveling or what?
Well, it's easier traveling because the four of us, James, Jake, Hobie, and myself, we see that it's easier. We just we won't book it if it's hard. One man asked, we were doing television down in Panama City, and he said, what are you guys trying to achieve? And my answer was, we're not trying to achieve anything. If we haven't achieved it, and we're in bad shape, we just out singing because we love to sing, and we love to sing gospel music. We love to sing about Jesus Christ, and I love to be away from my wife, so it all works good. You know?
Still haven't lost that sense of humor. J.D. Sumner, our special, back in the days when the Stamps, or rather, let's go back to the Blackwoods and then the Statesman some, were traveling across the country. You never